Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Starseed Immersion podcast. Today, I have Theresa Nguyen, and she is a Dragon Channel, sound therapist, RN, and well-being thought leader whose work has been featured in the New York Times, Vogue Daily, U.S. News, and World Report. Through her deep connection to dragon energy and mastery of sound, Teresa helps others release fear, activate their voice, and awaken their soul's highest potential. She is a true catalyst for transformation, guiding others into greater peace, presence, and empowered expression. I'm so excited to have you, Teresa. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Nikki. It's great to be here.
I read a little bit about your story from your website, but I would love to hear more information about like your upbringing, and how you entered into this field.
Yeah, I was raised as a Catholic, and I had no desire, no really openness to this type of work. It just was something that was conditioned in me that was, the devil's work, and you shouldn't be messing around with that. It's dark magic. As a child in elementary school, though, I'd go to sleepovers and we'd play like, oh God, what is that? What is that game that where you turn off the lights and you're in front of the mirror in the bathroom? Bloody Mary.
Yes.
Yes, Bloody Mary. And then, we would like lay down in another room and we put our hands underneath somebody. We try to like make them levitate, light as a feather, stiff as a board. And then we would, we would play around with it. I mean, I never saw anything or felt anything. We would just play. But outside of that, I wasn't open to it. I wasn't even interested in it. I wasn't curious about it. It just wasn't something that was for me, at least at the time. And it wasn't until like my 30s when I started getting curious. I went to a Halloween haunted house seance. It was something one of my friends posted on Facebook, and it was just inviting people to come because her friend was a medium and he was going to be doing readings. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so fun, Halloween, spooky, So I brought a friend with me, and we went. And during that reading, he shared with me like that my a grandmother type of woman was stepping forward, and she was sharing that I have these intuitive healing gifts and that I didn't have to do anything about it. And I come from a lineage of on my maternal side who, like there's a lot of gifts and powers that were held but could not be practiced, and that I would be the key to unlocking that. And it was a lot of information. It was a little like it was too much for me to absorb, and I wasn't even receptive. Like I wasn't receptive to anything that he was saying about energy healing, about, my maternal line having intuitive gifts. I just thought it was strange. And so I kind of put that aside and I lived my life. And I'm a nurse by background. So part of that too is like, we're trained to practice through evidence-based practices. There must be proof through our interventions. There's something to back up why we're doing what we're doing. And so that was always ingrained in me too. Like I need evidence, I need proof. Where's the data? Like show it to me. Like if you don't show it to me and it's not written in a study or something, then it's not real. It doesn't work. And all those like sort of anecdotal types of approaches, I wasn't ever open to. It was always straight medicine, prescriptions. Like it has to be prescribed by the doctor. So I was very much like in that type of belief and thought process and living and truth. And after I had that reading, I kind of delved into entrepreneurship, and I had this side business. I was kind of in a plateau, and I didn't really know how to overcome it. I didn't know what it was because I hired business coaches, worked on strategy, marketing, all the typical things that you would try to grow your business, and none of those really worked. So I thought maybe it's like an energy thing, that I can't figure out. So I hired a spiritual coach, hoping that she would just solve my problem, like just clear me and like give me the answers to everything. I didn't want to work for it. I just wanted to hire someone to give me the answers. And of course, it didn't work that way. And as I started working with this particular mentor, my third eye started to open and I started seeing visions and I started, becoming more sensitive. And long story short, it took me into becoming an energy healer. And that was in like 2012, 2013 or something. In the meantime, my parents don't know what I'm doing. My family, they don't know what I'm doing. My husband kind of knows, but he is very black and white. He's also a practicing Catholic and he doesn't oppose it. He's just kind of concerned. But he doesn't stop me. So I feel like, okay, well, I can keep on exploring whatever this is. Um, and and it got to the point where I just felt like there was so much misalignment with how I was living and what I now believed. And I don't really know what to do or how to approach it because I felt like I had to throw everything away. Like I had to divorce my husband, I had to leave the Catholic Church, I had to become a vegan. Like I went to like my thoughts went to the extreme of everything, realizing that I actually didn't have to do that. Like I thought there was like a set of rules that I had to follow when I went into spirituality and became an energy healer. And what I realized was that none of anything that you do or believe is wrong, because we're all meant to kind of discover what it is that our truth, what is our truth? What is it that we believe in? How do we want to live our lives? And it doesn't have to be by somebody else's rules. It can be, you take a little bit of this, you take a little bit of that. And people are sometimes surprised when I tell them, well, I still go to church, I'm still a Catholic and yet I channel dragons. Like, does that seem contradictory? And like, to some people, yes, but to me, no, because I don't believe that divine source, God, whatever you want to label it, I don't believe that, you know, that energy, that higher power would punish me for not following the Catholic Church rules or for mixing and matching the beliefs and practices that I have. And so how did I get to this point? Oh my gosh, it was years and years and years of, um, you know, um, trying to face my fears, discovering the things that my parents taught me that were not true for me. It may be true for them still, but it was not true for me. Knowing that what was taught to me and what I learned is only a small part of the picture, and that there's so much more out there for me to discover, but yet I don't have to know it all either. And also, what I found to be extremely important was mentorship. Like for me, I needed mentors and I needed lots of different mentors. It's like once I felt like I was good or I felt like I was limited in expanding or in growing with a specific teacher, then I would hire somebody else who felt more aligned. And I kept learning and kept growing and it kept, it's like I wanted to be taught by somebody who was further along in their growth, in the process, in the skill, or whatever. And so I obviously did not do it alone. I could not have done it alone. And because of that, it brought me here. But I also will say that I did two plant medicine ceremonies, and I feel like that accelerated my growth exponentially towards the tail end of where I am today. So within the last like maybe 3 or 4 years, I did two plant medicine ceremonies, and that was I just felt like it it helped me to quantum leap almost to where I am today. Yeah.
Would you be open to sharing a little bit about what you've experienced in your plant medicine and perhaps does it have a connection to the things that you teach today, which is dragon energy and sound?
Yeah. So when I experienced my first plant medicine ceremony, I didn't even know like what it was all about. Meaning I knew the name, but I didn't do any research on it because it was a former mentor and she told me don't go digging in YouTube and doing too much research because it will freak you out. The things that are out there right now that people have recorded and shared, like it's not what most people will go through, and everyone goes through it differently. Everyone has a different experience. And so when I got to the ceremony, it was like 2 hours away. I didn't tell anyone I was going. I probably not the smartest thing, but like I was there in this isolated farm and with a bunch of strangers. Like I didn't know anybody. And as soon as I walked in, I saw these two people like in ceremony and they started running to the garbage can. They started throwing up what looked like bile. So right away, it just freaked me out. And I thought, what am I doing here? Like, I don't think this is for me because one, I hate vomiting. It's like the worst thing for me. If I have a sense of purging, I will do anything in the world to stop it. And so that's part of my story is here is like this fear of purging or like it's almost like a signal or a sign of resistance for me when I start to feel a purge coming. Uh, and so there was a lot of fear when I first stepped into that circle. And what I realized was that it was a different ceremony. It actually wasn't for the plant medicine that I was going to be experiencing. So that was very reassuring, although, it's not completely true, meaning other people were still purging with the plant medicine that I was going through. But the psychedelic, it's not, I wouldn't call it plant medicine. It's a psychedelic. It's called bufo. It's from the bufo toad. They use micro doses of the toxin. And in tiny, tiny doses, there's evidence that shows that it helps with PTSD, it helps with addiction, it helps with trauma. A lot of what small doses of psychedelics in studies have shown in the past is basically bufo does that too. But it's also called the God molecule because it is so high vibrational frequency when you are able to partake in it. So what you do is you inhale it in a pipe, like marijuana, like that type of inhale. And as soon as I got the medicine inside me, before I even like went into the process, I remember my mentor telling me, if you surrender, you will experience like the most amazing feeling of unconditional love. And I thought, oh, that's interesting because I'm not sure if I've experienced unconditional love. I don't really know what that feels like. I mean, my parents, but I mean, it was different. I felt like there was something deeper, unconditional love. It was something deeper. And so I went into the process, and as soon as I had the medicine inside me, it's like I was free falling, and my entire body was just, I was like, I was floating, but I was falling. It was a really strange experience. And I was in my body the whole time. Okay. Like I didn't go astral traveling. Like I was present. I was aware. So as all that is happening, I'm still like thinking in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And as soon as I start like analyzing, I start feeling like I want to throw up. So then I was like, okay, just calm down, chill, just breathe, Teresa, breathe. So I started inhaling, and as I was breathing in, it was like I couldn't stop. It was like an endless inhale. Like I could have inhaled for 100 minutes. That's how it felt, at least. And at some point, I was like, okay, that's enough. And so I started exhaling. It was the same exact kind of experience where I could just forever exhale and there would be no limit to it. And then I started seeing, flashes of light and my body was on fire. It wasn't painful, but it was hot, like 1,000 degrees. And then this voice in my belly, a voice that I didn't recognize, was telling me to stick out my tongue. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And she paused a little bit and she said, a little bit firmer, stick out your tongue. And I kept saying no. And then, like she said, with the most enormous, eruptive expression, stick out your tongue. Like it was so loud and explosive that it was almost like a reaction, like a reflex. It was a reflex. And so I just opened my mouth and I stuck out my tongue as far as I could. And I just felt like my tongue was, it was like everything was just exaggerated in this experience. And my tongue was wide and long and I stuck it out, and yet there was more. Like I just felt like there was more and more and more. And then I screamed. I screamed, and that was also just a reaction too. I screamed, and it was almost like as I was sticking out my tongue, somehow I felt very empowered. I felt like I had this force within me that I didn't know existed. And I started to scream, and the scream just felt like it shook the earth because it was like a high pitched screaming sound, and it just continued to echo and echo and echo and echo. And as I was screaming, the voice was encouraging me. She was saying, yes, this is for your ancestors. This is for the pain that you've been through, the pain that they've been through. It was like a reclamation of who I was and who I was becoming, and also an honoring of those who came before me. And then it happened again where she told me to stick out my tongue, which then I did. And then I started screaming again. It was just the same kind of experience. It was very powerful. It's very intense. And that energy, though, the energy that I felt within my body, that was like the first taste of what dragon energy was. But I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. And I come out of the experience and I can't walk. I can't even like get on all fours. Like I just felt like I had to learn how to walk again because I couldn't do it. I was like, just put your one foot in front of the other, and my body like would not do it. And so it was like 15, 20 minutes of me trying to figure out like, how am I going to stand? How am I going to move my hands? And in a way, I also think it was a rebirth, and helping me to reclaim, these gifts that were so dormant within me. And that's kind of like the start of it. And so I'll fast forward to when I officially encountered the dragon. So I had another plant medicine ceremony. It was similar but different, but the same kind of energy. Although the second time there was a little tongue action. When I say tongue action, it's like my tongue was dancing. It was moving around like outside of my mouth and making all sorts of weird movements that I wouldn't have intentionally made normally. And so that was kind of like the second iteration of dragon energy that, again, I didn't realize it at the time. So now I'm in Mount Shasta, about 2021, 22, I can't remember what year. And I'm there as part of the support team for a spiritual retreat. And the first night was a sound bath, and I'm usually facilitating. So for me, it was like such a wonderful treat to be able to receive that night. But I had this feeling that something was going to happen. And so I told my friend who was the main facilitator that exactly that, I have a feeling something's going to happen. Like something's going to happen to me. So I kind of need your eyes like on me when we start the sound bath. And so we go into the mama yurt, and I'm not nervous, and I don't even remember really that something's going to happen. I'm kind of excited that I get to relax. But as soon as I walk in, my heart starts to race, and it's like pounding outside of my chest. I don't know why. I don't know how to stop it. I'm deep breathing. I am trying to talk myself down from whatever's happening, and nothing is making it better. But I thought, okay, well, just this is not an emergency. Like I don't feel like I'm going to pass out or anything. Um, so I thought if I lay down and the sound bath starts, the vibrations will calm my nervous system. Whatever's happening, it'll just like reverse it. So I lay down. And as soon as the sound bath facilitator beats her drum, it starts to, the energy then starts to build up inside me. So not only is my heart racing, now there's just this intense energy that is growing. And with every beat, it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And I am like holding myself down like this. I am kind of like scrunching myself down to keep whatever is wanting to come out, not to come out. But it got to the point where I couldn't hold it anymore. And I just allowed myself to surrender to it. And as soon as I did, I started making these weird noises. They were like sounds like from the back of my throat, it would sound like, and then these hissing sounds and the tongue rolling. It's just like, and then I was convulsing, and this energy, it was like electrifying, just running up and down my body. But as soon as I started making the sound, my friend heard me, and she ran over right away, and she put her hands on my head. She's like, I'm here, you're safe. And I just felt like because I was in a safe space, I could completely surrender to this energy, whatever it was, because I knew if it didn't belong there, then my friend would take care of it. So I was completely open at that point. And about 5 minutes into it, I opened my eyes and I saw dragons flying above the yurt. And I thought, oh my gosh, there are freaking dragons in my body right now. This is why I'm feeling how I'm feeling. This is why the noises and the sounds are coming out of my mouth. And my friend was saying that they were channeling also to her, telling her which chakras to open so that the dragons could come through, and which chakras to close as dragons left. And that went on for like 45 minutes. And I was not on medicine. I was not drinking any alcohol. I was completely sober and awake and aware, and again, completely in my body. I don't think I would have wanted to leave, because I was just very curious about, like, not just curious, but I mean, there was some fear there too. I'm not gonna lie. It was scary because I'd never had such a physical experience of energy like that in my body. And then the convulsing, like I was scared that I was having seizures. So that was the other thing, like just my mental, logical brain, the nursing part of me thinking, oh my gosh, like we need to get you to the ER. But spirit works differently, right? So I kind of had to just allow those thoughts to go to the wayside and just trust. But it was interesting because the dragons, as the sound bath facilitators were playing the bowls and they were chanting and they were singing, the dragons joined in. They would harmonize and they would sing this beautiful high-pitched vibrato, things that I normally would not do even in my own home, just because it's like I'm not comfortable that way with my voice normally. And then finally at the end, when the sound bath wrapped up, I was sharing with the group of women at the retreat what had happened. And about 4 or 5 of them came up to me afterwards and said that even though they had never heard those sounds before, it felt very familiar to them. So that was kind of like the first clue for me as to how this energy works. And it's a very activating energy. It activates your remembrance of who you are. It activates dormant gifts. It activates even ancient gifts. There's people whom I have worked with where they will spontaneously speak light language, but it is not of any origin that we know of. It is like unnamed and it is very, very ancient, just old, and it's some are like primal earth types of energy. Others are like really, really, really old, 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 like thousands and thousands and thousands of years, like within their lineage. Some are, galactic, but not associated with the star seeds or uh, the Council of Light or the Galactic Foundation, all those councils and groups or whatever, like not associated with any of them. Like they have no name. So I found that to be really fascinating and really interesting, how they leave clues. The dragons leave clues for you as to, how it works and what it can do. And so I just kind of follow the clues and then have to explain to people in a more grounded way, what it does and why you might want to work with it. This is a long story, but that's how, I got to where I am today.
Wow. And you knew, like, did you know in that moment your specific modality or like what you specialize in? It was dragons, like what
No,
energy?
no, I had no idea. I was like, I was born in the year of the dragon. We're Asian, so it's part of the culture, right? But to me, dragons never really existed. They're just make believe. They are like archetypes, and representative of something within my culture, but I never believed that they were real. So when I had that experience, I didn't know what to do with it. And I was scared to show people or tell people or share with people because of all the different things that they did with my tongue and my voice. And I didn't know how to explain it either, and I didn't know what they were doing when I was, for example, when I was sharing it with somebody and I did it, I didn't know what the purpose was. I
Uh,
didn't understand why I was doing it. So I wasn't comfortable with that. I needed to be able to share more, and understand a little bit more, at least the frequencies, the purpose, like why. I didn't have to know every single detail, but, at least give me a purpose, without just, instead of just saying, well, I don't know what that was, but there you go. Yeah. But it took me a couple years before I finally was like, I think this is actually, yes, before I finally owned it and before I finally embraced it because I was embarrassed by it. I was ashamed of it. I was scared of it more because of what other people thought than anything, you know. Um, we tend to push away what's really different and what's kind of awkward because not a lot of people do the awkward things, right? The things that make us feel really awkward are strange because not a lot of people do it typically. And so, I totally lost my thought process in sharing this, but basically what I'm trying to say is that it got to this point where I couldn't pretend that the dragons weren't a part of me and a part of who I am and a part of what I do because they were constantly showing up like all the time. And then when I started finally becoming a little bit more visible, sharing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and even like finally just telling people, because I used to do group sound bath healings in person. And the first time I ever shared with people that I channeled dragons. I mean, it was incredible that so many people came up to me and told me like how they encountered dragons, how they felt dragons, how they saw dragons, things that I would never have imagined or even thought that they would experience. I even had a client who I'd worked with for 2 years, and I told her I worked with dragons, but she never, she was like, I trust you, but dragons really aren't for me, but I trust you, whatever. But that same sound bath I was telling you about, she said that was the first time she'd ever felt like such a presence. And she said, I knew it was dragons. I didn't see them. I knew. And she's like, I can't tell you how crazy it was. I just felt them on me, So for her to say that and be this longtime client who didn't believe in dragons, even though I worked with dragons, to finally tell me that the one time I decided to share with people that she now believes in it, that was kind of validation for me that this was real, like it wasn't just me that felt it, like this was meant to be shared with other people, and that it's transformative, like it's effective. It's not just like, oh, I saw dragons, I felt dragons. There's healing involved in that. There's activations, transformation, creation energy, like all sorts of things that are involved with that. And so, yeah, it took me a little bit to embrace those gifts.
So that kind of leads in, that weaves into kind of my other question was like dragon energy is for anyone. It's not just for people who resonate with it, but it's for anyone who's open to receiving healing and activations and transformation in their life.
Yeah, I mean, so, right, anyone can work with dragon energy. But if you are the type of person who's really good at staying open and really good at surrendering and really good at allowing, the dragon energy, you will feel it in your body. Like you will have a physical manifestation, a physical experience of the dragon energy within your body. Like, for example, those types of people who are very open, who are very good at surrendering, who are really, really good at just letting go and just allowing the energies to come through. Their bodies will slither, or undulate. Sometimes they'll do the convulsing, or it'll, start jerking. And that is because they're super open to be able to receive. Oftentimes, people want to receive, but there's a lot of fear of unknown, and they're not sure if they trust, what this is going to be like. They also have their own sort of expectations. So that also is a blocker in allowing the energy to fully, become immersed within your body. There's an advantage to that. Not that you need it to come into your body, but there's an advantage to having that energy almost embodied within you, is that it's in its most pure form. So versus it me being a channel, there's certain things that I will filter, but if it's the full energy of the dragons because you're allowing, then it'll be in its most potent form. Now, I have to like backtrack a little bit and clarify what I mean by there's certain things I will filter. Because there are certain people who come to me who I know can't handle the energy. So I will hold back. It's not that I'm not giving them what they need in that moment, but I feel like I trust my intuition. I trust my decision making, to know how much they can handle for somebody who might be physically a little bit more fragile, for example, versus somebody who is in a normal, healthy state who could be able to handle, that frequency and that energy within their body. And to add to that, the dragons, again, anyone can work with dragons. They're not going to say no, but they're really wanting to align with the healers and light workers who are here to make a big impact. Like they are here to partner with people who want to, who are a part of sort of like the cohort, in a grander scale. to help shift the consciousness of the collective and of the earth. So you'll see, that healers and light workers are starting to see dragons now come into their meditations or into certain processes. And it's kind of like, hey, we're here. Are you going to work with us? And are you serious about working with us? Or is this just like dabbling, And dabbling's fine, meaning you don't need to make a decision. They're not like going to force you to do anything. But they're really direct, at least the ones that I work with. They're no nonsense. They're direct. They're like, there's no bullshit in this. Let's just get shit done. And I love that kind of energy because I'm all about just getting it done. I know it's kind of a masculine type of energy, but I also feel like, that's just a label because feminine can also be very forceful as well. Um, so did I answer your question? I felt like I just talked a lot.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So what
Okay.
I heard from that was the dragons are here, like they want to assist those that are here to help shift the collective consciousness, but anyone can work with them if they so choose to.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Like
I've
anyone can have a dragon guide, you know? So, yeah.
have you ever noticed that like throughout our, I guess like our expansion of consciousness, maybe our dragon guides would elevate or they would switch out? Because I personally experience like having different experiences with dragons, and with the next elevation of consciousness or expansion of energy, new ones would come in. And I was like, wow, I've never, like these are golden dragons. I've never experienced those before. Or like,
Yeah. So the group I work with is called the Dragon Collective. It's a name I gave them. They don't call themselves the Dragon Collective. It's a name I gave them because I needed to give them something. And they weren't going to volunteer like a name because just for everybody's understanding, the dragons I work with think names are silly. So if they don't give you a name, it's okay. You don't even have to give them a name. But I feel like the group of dragons I work with, I did have to call them something. And I feel like it's generic enough. It's a dragon group, a dragon collective. And they will switch in and out based on who it is I'm working with. For the most part, I would say there's like a handful of the same dragons that I work with, um, but they will change based on, again, who I'm working with, what it is that I'm doing, where it is that I'm going, like you were saying, as you expand, another group of dragons may come in to sort of support me in as I'm holding that energy or learning how to work with this new frequency. And that happens with our guides too, like our spirit guides. They come in and out. You get new ones as you expand, and so it's not just the dragons, but my other spiritual guides as well switch out according to uh, the frequency or vibration that I'm holding and what my purpose is in that moment or years, that I have like in front of me.
yeah. And for you, like expression is a very big part of your expansion. And I feel like that's very resonant for me and many light workers.
Yeah.
Would you like to expand a little bit more about why that's important for all of us to maybe embody more of our expression?
Yeah, because the throat is the bridge between our upper and lower chakras. Some people say the heart, it's whatever. Excuse me. I believe that it is our throat. So when we aren't able to open this up, when we aren't able to freely express, whether it's through sound, vibration, frequency, words, singing, whatever, um, we're not clear channels. And this keeps us from being seen and heard. This keeps us, when we're not able to use it freely and openly and expansively, it keeps us from showing up. So, why do you need to show up? Because we need to model to people what it means to evolve. And we need to teach people how to heal themselves and tools and techniques and methods and how they can connect to spirit, how they can connect to their intuition, and all the ways they can grow and expand exponentially. But if we're quiet and we don't show up and we're sitting in our homes and we're just talking to one or two people, and yet you have all this knowledge and wisdom that you're keeping to yourself, like that doesn't serve anybody. And it's actually you being really selfish because of this fear, or maybe you don't think that your words are worth sharing. Maybe you feel like, oh, what I know, any other teacher can teach, but that's not true because you hold a different vibration. Because you and I could say the exact same thing and it'll resonate with one person, but not another. Like you and I could say the exact same thing and I'll say it one way, you'll say it another, and they'll be like, Teresa, you make no sense at all. But Nikki, like that totally made sense to me, even though we said the same thing. So that's the reason why this is so important. Clearing this and expanding this and healing this. When I say this, it's our throat, our vocal channel. Because also this is how we, besides our hands, this is also the portal by which we are allowing the frequencies and the codes and the light to come through. Even as we speak, like when you're speaking lovingly to someone, like that energy is also coming out of your mouth. So we have to be using it to be able to share with people and to be able to teach people and to be able to be role models for people, especially the younger generation. Whether you have children or not, there's always a younger generation and they're watching and they're listening and they will subconsciously, um, they will subconsciously absorb, all these things that we are saying, even if they think it's the silliest thing. It will, if you say it enough, it will subconsciously just get embedded. And that is also another reason why it's important for us to be able to stand in the full expression of who we are and be able to share that. And it doesn't even have to be articulate. Like I used to be scared and fearful about how my words came out. And that I would listen to other people and I thought, oh, I wish I could talk like that, like I just wish I could sound the way they sound and they make everything so graceful and eloquent. And I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm just not like them. I'm just me and I have to be okay with that. And some people are going to be like, Teresa, like, I think you're an amazing speaker. And some people will be, will disagree with them. And I have to just be okay with that and remind myself like that. Not everybody loves cheesecake, but cheesecake doesn't like get their feelings hurt. They're just going to sit there beautiful and like delicious and sweet. And people who love cheesecake will continue to eat cheesecake, and those who don't, they won't. So I'm just cheesecake, and it's okay.
I think that's a beautiful representation because I've experienced similar challenges with self-expression because I'm very much like a storyteller. And I used to think even, oh, hold on one second. I used to think even in like a business setting, I was always told that like you have to be very like conditioned through business coaching that there you have to be niched in a specific area and you have to say things a certain way and you have to market a certain way. And even that actually conditioned me even more into kind of what does a professional look like or what does a professional sound like. So this year has been a lot about like I guess like opening up my artistic channel. So I used to like when I was younger, I used to draw and I paint and I used to express through storytelling and all of that stuff. But my soul guided me into this journey of remembrance of my younger self that wasn't inhibited by expression of any societal structure. Um, and I was like, wow, like I don't just want to be like very linear, very like what I call like old paradigm business kind of marketing type of expression. Instead, I just want to be me. I think that was like the big lesson, right? I just want to
Yeah.
be me. Like, why is it so hard to be me?
Yeah. I love the weaving of creativity. I'm seeing that so much of that, and it makes me so happy because society doesn't teach us the power of like how powerful creativity is and imagination. But that's like where the magic happens. That's where creation happens. And so it makes me smile, the fact that you have shared that. It's powerful.
Yeah, the essence of a creator. It was almost like this. I don't know if you've ever read or heard of The Artist's Way. It was like a book explaining,
Hmm.
and I do feel it prominent, especially in cultures that are more like reserved. Like for me, my parents always valued a more linear kind of logical career path. So The Artist's Way was a way of saying, well, you've probably taken this very linear career path, but deep down you're a very creative person. And
Hmm.
how do you unblock yourself from all of these things, this belief that you're not creative, this belief that
Hmm.
you can't thrive in being a creative. And so the multidimensional aspect of that was this remembrance that creation of art or creative expression is literally the channel of the soul. And
Hmm.
there were so many quotes within the book of saying, you are literally just channeling your soul when you express
Hmm.
yourself.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I love that.
well, I would love to ask if you have like any last words for us, or even like a channel meditation healing activation for our audience that's listening.
Yeah, let's do a dragon DNA light code activation, a quick one.
Awesome.
And so the purpose of this will be to, when I talk about activation, I think about light switches in your body for these gifts. And sometimes there's 10 light switches before you can actually activate whatever dormant gifts you have. So the intention of this is to be able to turn on the necessary switches that are meant to be enabled like today. So it might not be all of them. It might just be the 1 out of 10, or it might be all five. What we'll just trust that spirit and your team in spirit know what the timing is and know what it is that you can handle and what you're able to receive today. So it doesn't matter if people close their eyes or not. It's just going to come through. And also, if you have your eyes open, oh, shoot. Oh, sorry. I thought I lost you for a minute there. If you have your eyes open, you might see my tongue move in weird ways. That's just a transmission and the way the energy gets organized and as data comes through, things like that. Okay? All right, so here we go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just squeeze, create, 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 create. You just create, kukalala, et create, create. So I kalala create kukuit create kakwa et krena et krai. The create kukut create kukwal a the krai the create kukut the create reka kukala the create sai eat reket ko la 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 it reket create hai yakatare to ko it create la 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 it create the kwala la la it reket it ko it Suroi takrai nana etakwala atakai etakri taka wala atakrai takrai te kutukuri kri to to etakrai takana takri to wala la etri takrai tak it ayala etakrai tak itri tiri sakukula takrai takri 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 sukure takri etakura takrai nana etaka takri sakuroi sakri ahwala atakrai atakai takri takri to ko sa right takare ata karoko ata kai kai ata kai nana ata kro takare sa kro yete it's kri ko la hala khatare te ata kro to ko la nanai sa wala hai takare ko sa kari te ko ala ata kare takare it's kri taka ete nanai nai at ko la ata it's kri ko la ata kare takare ita kare sa ila la it kri ko to it's kate it kri te ka o Sakari, Raya to koa la 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 la. Turu tu tu koe te kri te kai te kr ke te
Wow, thank you so much, Teresa.
Yeah,
And
you're welcome.
I just have to say, like, you are absolutely right with the whole body movements. Like, I felt my spine wanting to kind of like shift back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's very different from other kinds of light language I've experienced because I normally feel it like at the top of my head. But the dragon energy is like physical. It's more like I can feel it in the body versus the brain.
Yeah. Yeah. It likes to start, in our lower chakras with oftentimes people feel a lot of heat and then it starts moving up. But yeah.
Yes, and the way that we articulated the sound, I felt like I was in the desert, like I could hear the echoes of like the sound, like it sounded far away and it sounded close, and it was just like this whole journey.
Yes. Thank you for allowing me to share that with your audience and with you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And to kind of wrap up this beautiful interview, you had a gift for the audience members. Would you like to share that with us?
Yes, you're going to have to remind me because it's like one or the other. Was it the abundance codes or the light code activation, the serpent dragon activation?
I'll check now because at the end, the hyperlink says Year of the Snake. So,
Yes. Okay. Yes, because this year is the year of the snake. This is uh it is a sound journey layered with dragon and serpent energy, light language and codes and vibrations, along with my singing bowls and other sounds from nature. And what this does is it not only does it help to reset your nervous system, but it also puts you into brain entrainment. So what that does is it helps you to reach higher states of consciousness. and to be able to tap into your soul a little bit more deeply, maybe at a level that you haven't yet before. And so it's a wonderful gift. It's a wonderful experience. I've gotten, so much wonderful feedback from it. And so I hope that your audience experiences the same.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for sharing your amazing gift with us. And I'm so excited to share that with the audience. And if anyone is interested in getting in contact with you, do you have a website or I guess like the best way to reach you would be through
Yeah.
which channel?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social media channels at this as the same name. It's my first name, my last name, followed by Speaks, Spaks. So TeresaWynnSpeaks.com and then Teresa Wynn Speaks across all of the social media platforms.
Amazing. And I will have Teresa's links linked below this podcast episode. So you guys have easy access. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Teresa, for being here. And I look forward to see you all in the next episode.
Thank you.